Okay, first things first. I gotta clean up a little boo boo I made on the last clip. I said Nipsey was killed on 4/31, 2019. That was absolutely and utterly wrong, and I want to apologize for my mistake. I was reading a little too fast, and I got caught up. But Nipsey was actually killed on 3/31, 2019. So, I just wanted to correct that. Now, let's go back into this Fast and Furious case. Contrast and comparison. Now, the killer of Ermias Asghedom, his name is Eric Ronald Holder Jr. If you remember in that list of adults I was reading, outside of a Samuel, there was a Ronald. Now, Eric being 4 letters, Ronald being six, Holder being six, that would be 12 plus 4, which is 16. Junior being 2 letters, 18, right? 1 plus 8 is 9. Now, the guy who was killed by Heraclio Osorio Arianes, his name was Brian A. Terry. Now, I'm going to tell y'all why that's funny in a minute. But Terry and Brian both being 5 letters, which is 10, A being 1, A1 directly, that's 11, that's a 2. Oh, and by the way, Brian was 40 years old. Okay, just to reiterate that. Eric Holder Jr. is 31, currently locked away. So you see these patterns. Now, Operation Fast and Furious, the Attorney General, Eric Hampton Holder Jr., age 71, which is an 8, was the assailant in these acts committed. Allegedly, he was the culprit of the whole understanding. Now, when I lined the names Brian A. Terry up, the only name that sounds similar to Terry is Carey. So you got Brian A for Ermias, Terry. You flip that T around to a K, TK, and you get that Carey, Latham, right? But one name I thought was interesting was Shermy Villanueva, because then I found that his name wasn't Shermy. His name was Sheremiah. Well, ironically, Sheremiah backwards is Ermias. How ironic. And Brian, that's funny because Eric Ronald Holder Jr.'s escape driver's name was Brianna. Brianna Taylor. Well, the guy who discovered Nipsey Hussle allegedly was the game, and his nickname was Chuck Taylor. So those were just a few nuances that also threw me into a loop. Not saying that they mean anything, or maybe they mean everything, but I thought that information is good to store away in the back of the memory for later instances. Now, this guy right here, Brian A. Terry, is a very strange look to him, y'all. Very strange look to himself. I don't want to go too in depth, but do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? Do you hear what I hear? Bullshit. Oh, is that what you hear? Now, the Fast and Furious took place in 2009 and 2013. 2011, between those years. It took place near a place called Rio Rico. Now, what's so funny about the name Rio Rico? Well, if you remember the first gentleman's name, Heraclio Osorio Arianes, yeah. And Rico, well, what we watching YSL and Young Thug go through right now. It's funny how it's the Rio Creek, right? The Rico Creek, excuse my language, the Creek Rico, you know. 2,000 guns were botched in the 2010 fiasco. Two weapons were brought by one of the suspects and found near where patrol agent Terry was assassinated. Some Republicans and commentators and conservative news media outlets floated theories that senior Obama officials must have approved the operation, deliberately fostering gun violence to provide a rationale for the strengthening of gun control laws, and that they were engaged in a cover up. Mr. Arianes was taken into custody in 2017. Sixth of seven defendants convicted and sentenced in this particular case. Sixth, huh? So this is why the number 6 is so prominent within this story. Nipsey being from 60s, right? Pay attention. Don't get knocked off your block so fucking easily. There's more. There's more. An attorney named Robert Brewer, who ironically has 12 letters in his name, symbolizing a 3, said this statement at closing arguments in the Fast and Furious case. Robert Brewer, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of California, said the sentence could not eliminate suffering, but would bring them some degree of comfort. And I wanted to remind y'all of what John McKinney, who has 12 letters in his name as well, which breaks down to another 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. Well, let me remind you of what this gentleman said.